So I think a lot of people do not know who they're creating for. That's a very key part of creativity. And that's why they want to create for everybody.
Exactly.
And then when everybody is not consuming your creativity, it becomes overwhelming and you feel like you're wasting time.
Right.
But the truth is, you can't create for everybody.
Right.
You know, we don't exist in silos,
Yeah.
right? As creators, you have to exist in communities. And for me, everything that I do, you know, if it doesn't directly serve a community, then I think it's not worth doing. There's something I said during AfriBall when I made a speech, well, my now famous speech. I said to our allies, I would like you to take away everything you've read in the media and see the Africa in front of you. I'm a workaholic, right? I like to have something I'm working towards per time. If there's none, I'll create it. So I create the chaos in my life. You get?
What do you think African possibility is for you?
Endless. The possibility is endless. Or I'll just say, stop knocking, stop asking, start creating. 2017, I fell into depression, serious depression. You know, like it's not just everyone say I'm depressed, no, clinical depression, right? And the reason for that was
is the African possibility. Your narrative starts now. Your narrative starts now. Welcome to the podcast.
What happens when the world keeps asking you to choose one path, but you know you were created to do many things? My guest today is Teinye Boyle, a multidisciplinary creative, singer, songwriter, writer, producer, director, and cultural storyteller. From directing school plays at just 8 years old to studying computer science while producing events, hosting a radio show, and performing music, Teinye's life has never fitted comfortably into one box. For years, that range of abilities felt less like a gift and more like a burden. In 2017, an identity crisis led him into clinical depression as he watched friends become recognized specialists while he struggled to define himself. That difficult season became a turning point. It inspired his book titled Black Multipod, and ultimately shaped his mission to help other multi-passionate people embrace the fullness of who they are. Today, as the founder of AfriBall, Creators Mix, and Pop-Up Africa, Teinye is building platforms that celebrate African creativity, collaboration, and heritage. This is a conversation about identity, sacrifice, migration, and the courage to stop asking for permission and start creating. So settle in and let's get into it.
If you are enjoying these conversations, I will just enjoin you to take a second to subscribe to the African Possibility podcast. Because when you do that, you're helping us bring authentic African stories. And guess what? It is free. So you who's watching me now, please subscribe. Yes, I mean you. Just subscribe. It's absolutely free. And then click on the notification bell. So when we drop these stories, it comes straight to you. Thank you very much.
If someone is listening to you for the first time, how will you describe Teinye Boyle?
I would describe myself as a multidisciplinary creative. And that's because I do so many things in the creative space. And that's why I wrote a book about it, Black Multipod. I wrote a book about people like myself who cannot identify as one thing because we do so many things and we're so good at them. Right. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, so would that be all?
Yeah, that'll be all.
Yeah, so you've described yourself as a multi-hyphenate creative professional.
Yes.
What does that really mean? Because I'll come to the Multipod book, but what does a multi-hyphenate creative professional mean to you?
That's because I have many hyphens. So singer, songwriter, producer, writer, director. Yeah. That's all the hyphenates in it. So yeah, that's what I'll call myself. And again, because I've had many years working in different aspects of my ability. And some of them is not just a talent. Some of them are skills that I've studied for. Some of them are things that I've learned over time. Some of them I had to go to school for. Some of them they're just inborn. So it's a mixture of all of that. So my background is so wide with the things I've done Yeah, so that's why I'll call myself a multi-hyphenate creative professional.
Yeah, so looking at your childhood, at what point what were the experiences that led to that whole combo of who Teinye is, the confidence, the creativity, and all of things you are today?
I would say that, from a very young age, I've pretty much known that I'm a different child. And I was many years ago, I was classed as a gifted child because I started doing some wonderful things at age 8. Oh. At age 8, I was directing the stage drama.
Wow.
In my school. And
not acting, directing.
So, and the thing is, I would act in them, and I would direct because I felt like I knew what to tell people to do.
Exactly.
So from then, like I had teachers, our drama teachers, who could literally leave me with the rest of the cast, and she would expect that I would get our lines, get everything done, and she comes back and everything is done. So I could do that, and I would sing in church so well that I had to be promoted to the adult choir earlier than I normally would. And then I got into the choir to sing professionally earlier than a lot of my mates. So yeah, so that's sort of been my childhood. And because I knew from way back when that I could do many things, because I had an acting phase and I had a artist phase where so when I was a lot younger, I could draw someone. I could draw you live.
Wow.
Yeah, I could draw you live. And I remember then my mom she didn't like it because she wanted me to like go to proper school, and not just become an artist. She wanted me to go into the sciences, become a medical doctor, things like that. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's those experiences have shaped how I've come to now understand myself.
Yeah. So where was all of these? I mean, what part of Nigeria was this now?
Lagos.
In Lagos?
Yeah. I was born and raised in Lagos.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So were there experiences in your childhood and early adulthood that you thought people misunderstood you and wanted to box you into one box?
Oh, yes.
And like, you shouldn't be too creative. You shouldn't do this and do this and do that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So when I went into uni, right, I was studying computer science. And that's one thing a lot of people cannot imagine that I studied because of the things that I've done. I'm in IT as a computer scientist. Yeah. And I came out top of my class.
Wow.
But guess what? Whilst I was studying computer science, I was we had a beauty pageant.
Wow.
In my campus, and I was spearheading that. I had a dance group.
Wow.
I was creating different events, in the Nigerian Independence Day events, cultural events. Shockingly, I was working as a makeup artist as well. So I did all of those things. I had a radio show, a late night radio show. It was called Accra to Lagos because I studied in Ghana. I had that, and then so I would give you my week typically. So on a Monday, I'll go to classes. On Tuesday, I'll go to classes. On Wednesday, I would sing at a club. On Thursday, I would have my rehearsals with my choir and a couple of other singing groups. On Friday, I'll have my late night show. Saturday, I would go to rehearsal, and wherever I fancy. Sunday, I'll go to church. So it's that cycle. So yeah, a lot of people misunderstood me because people who knew me as a singer thought that was all I was until they saw me behind a show. As a matter of fact, there was a show, I think it was the second or third edition of Miss Malaika Ghana. I was working there and somebody saw me. They're like, "Oh, are you singing at this event?" I'm like, "No, I'm producing." They're like, "Oh, you produce?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Wow. All sorts.
Yeah, so that, at the time, it was a bother because I felt like a lot of people didn't understand me, and I found myself reducing parts of me just so I could tell you who I am. But I got to a point where I had to embrace all of me, like the wholeness, and just let people know that I am one of the very few people who cannot stick to one thing. Yeah, and because I'm also good at the many things that I do, it's my advantage. So when you ask me who I really am or what I really do, I'll just say I'm a multipod. Simple.
Yeah. Okay, so can you tell me one successful show you did in school, in the uni, maybe the beauty pageant, or one very successful thing you did that
Face of Legon
brought
the very
attention.
first edition, actually.
Was that Face of
Legon.
Right.
So University of Ghana is in a place called Legon. So
Legon,
you just call it Legon.
Yeah.
You get. And the very first edition was something that I was a part of. And then I was also a part of, I can't remember now, but there was a campus fashion show that I was a big part of as well. Those are like early indicators that I could be like a big time show producer. Yeah.
So from early in your childhood through early adulthood through the uni, you already knew what you're going to be. Did you know that you are not going to practice IT?
I knew. I knew. I would just I went to school, got my certificate, gave it to my mom. That's it.
So why didn't you do drama or art, one of those?
So the thing is, again, I've had opportunities to be in front of the camera. Right. When I was a lot younger, I was a lot good looking. I was all of that. So I did some bit of modeling and in commercial for TV, but I think I have more interest behind camera. I love to see the things that I create.
Right.
I hate to be in front of them.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it's not my thing to want to be in front of the camera. I don't think I want to anymore. Yeah.
Right. So what is one of the difficult seasons in your journey that has really shaped you in such a way that a lot of people do not know?
Right. So I think that would link to the reason why I wrote my book.
Okay.
Sometime in 2017, I fell into depression, serious depression. You know, like it's not just everyone say I'm depressed, no, clinical depression, right? And the reason for that was I had a lot of identity crisis. Also because at the time, I had most of my friends who were doing different things, were beginning to become prominent in their different areas. So I had some of my friends who were founders, tech founders. At that point, they've raised some monies. I've had some friends who are in, some actor friends. Some of them are quite popular today. They were now getting their flowers, you know. So I was depressed because I didn't stay in one career path enough to build it to the point of prominence. You know, so it was a problem because I looked at everybody. I'm like, oh, this person is now becoming an expert this, an expert that. I'm like, and I'm still here today. I'm doing this one, and then the next minute I'm going to do something else. You know, that was a turning point. So I woke up one day and I said, I can't be the only one feeling this way. I can't be the one. So I went into research, and that was where I saw words like polymath, words like multipotentiality. I saw those words and words like Renaissance people, people who obviously, you have people like Michelangelo who were artists, who were also in law, like people, there were different careers, career paths in one person's life, you know. So I said, I think this is what I am. Because it was a proper identity crisis, and Instagram did not help, because I remember then if I was producing a show, I'll put show producer. And then if I had a concert I'm singing at, I'll change my bio to singer. And I was like, you know what? Just get a life, that kind of thing. Yeah, but that was a great turning point. So I went into research, and then I wrote the book for people like myself who obviously had moments of struggling to find who they really are.
Yeah. So have you heard people talk about people reach out to you after reading that book or stumbling on it online and say, look, this is who I am. Thank you for writing that book and all of that. Tell me about that, please.
So as a matter of fact, I have a mentorship program starting next month.
Oh, great.
I had it last year. So what I do in my mentorship, because if you go on my website, people come to me for life coaching, right? And I would handhold you to understanding yourself and meeting all your multipotentiality at one spot. I used to have a student who, she's a lawyer and a poet and a couple of other things, and she was wondering how she could merge all of that together. And she worked with me. We did our analysis, we did our one-on-ones, and what came out of that was a legal blog where women, so she's into women's rights and things. So it became a legal blog that talks about women's rights in poetry. So all of that comes together, and that's why I choose to call myself a cultural storyteller. Because if you ask me, if you want just one word, I would say I'm a storyteller, because I do that as a singer, as a writer, as a producer. So everything that I do has to tell a story in different forms. Yeah. So everybody who's like that has that one center point where all of their potentials, would converge. So yeah, I've had people who, oh my God, like a lot of people would write to me. I'm like, oh my God, so this is it. This is me. I didn't know this is what. Oh, I didn't know this existed. Yeah. Hence, because somebody just asked, do you coach people about this? I'm like, okay, I could do that, because I've done it informally. Yeah, I've got friends who, cousins. I mean, I have a cousin who's just like me as well. She's started different businesses, and then she's done this, she's done that. And she said something a woman told her on the plane that she cried. She was telling the lady, oh, I sell this, and then I do this. And the lady said, are you not too old to not know what to do? Just like, whoa. That statement haunted her until obviously my book came out and she read it. She was like, wow, I now understand the kind of person I am. So yes, I've had people across the world who's just searched about learning about themselves. Because for me, when I was obviously going to write my book and I was researching, I came across lovely books. I came across Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher. I came across How to Be Everything by Emily Wapnick. Many books, so I had to write mine, in the direction of somebody who's obviously come from an African or Black parent who is a slight different scenario when you're from an African parent home, where you don't get to choose what you want to become. You get told what you'd be, so things like that. Yeah, but I've definitely had people reach out to me.
Yeah, so it's okay for one to be multipod.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay to be different things at the same time. You know how they say back at home, like jack of all trade, master of none. Yeah, but it's possible to be jack of a couple of different trades.
Listen, the full form of that statement is jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. But they've obviously cut out the other part just to suit the specialist narrative. If we even go deeper, one of the things I talked about in my book, in my research, I came to understand where the world moved from people being multi-hyphenate to people being experts. And that came with the Renaissance, that came with the industrialization, where it was important for people to now be experts.
Yeah, so specialize,
Specialize, down,
But truth be told, I mean, back at home, Africa, like, our parents were multi-hyphenates.
A lot of them were.
Yeah, literally all of them, because
a lot of them
father was doing all sort of things. Our mothers were doing all sort of things.
Yeah, a lot of them were
literally good in everything.
Yeah.
She was so the school uniform. She's the pharmacist. She's the first aider. So I mean, it's something we carry from back at home, from Africa.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody out there who feels you've got all of these potentials, all of these ideas inside of you, it's not something bad at all. No. Something that you need. Coaching, you need mentorship or mentoring.
It's just mentorship. You need hand-holding.
Mentorship, to guide you into the right track. Yeah. So moving to the United Kingdom will come with some bit of excitement. Well, most times people do not see that it carries some bit of pressure, culture shock, identity crisis, and all of that. So tell me, what were some of those pressures you had when you moved from Nigeria to the UK?
Weather. First.
When did you come in? During winter?
Yes. I came straight from Nigerian summer to British winter.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And you know what? I came in October. So I remember I came in October, and I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks after, I went to an event, and I was speaking to a British lady, and I was just saying, the weather, we're talking about the weather, and I said, this is the coldest it would get. And she said, no.
Really?
October. She said no. She said no. It's going to get a lot colder. I'm like, really? She said yes. I'm like, how am I going to survive
exactly
if it gets colder than what I'm experiencing? And October is largely autumn, really.
Exactly.
You get so. But yeah, I think weather first, and then I would say, I wouldn't say it's a culture shock, but it was just how time is money here.
Yeah.
Time is money. Like you literally have to work. I mean, you know, in Nigeria and largely most parts of Africa, when you have on weekends, people hardly work on weekends. The only people who really work on weekends are probably people in healthcare.
Healthcare, yeah.
Really. But here you have people saying, "Oh, I'm not available this weekend, I'm working." I'm like, what? You can literally host a party, tell people on the Monday that the party is on Saturday, and you're sure that everybody comes because nobody works on Saturday, really, except you're a doctor, a nurse, or, you know.
Yeah.
But here, because of the different, there's social care, there's deliveries, and all of those things. All sorts.
Yeah.
So you really can't have your weekend. So those are things that I'm like, whoa. I mean, when I started working, I remember my very first job, and I saw the route and I saw Sunday. I'm like, what? On Sunday? I go to church on Sunday. And I saw Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'm like, what? So that was like another culture shock. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I came to understand that time here is really money.
Yeah.
Whereas back home, we get paid for working 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Really.
And straight up.
And straight up.
Friday,
Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
But here you're working 7 to 7. Yeah. The timing, I was like, okay, at what point do I go home? As well. Yeah. But I think it's helped and it's shaped me to valuing time. Yeah. I love that this country does value time. And that's why you really can't ring somebody up and just have a chat. You have to know if they're not working, you know, but it's normal. It's expected in Nigeria, right? Yeah. For you to ring somebody on Saturday morning and expect to have a long 1 hour gist because you feel, well, you're home.
Yeah.
You know, but here you have to find out if they're working.
Exactly.
And sometimes if you're not working, you want to rest.
Exactly.
You get, so yeah.
Yeah, so that has really helped you in your perspective. Clarify your perspectives. Yeah. And some way, somehow, make people also understand back at home that.
Yeah.
You can call me anytime.
Oh yeah, I had issues with my friends.
Exactly.
So they thought I was being busy for nothing, but no, I was working.
Yeah. So as an African creative here in the UK, have you ever felt the need to work doubly hard in order to be understood or accepted in the room?
I would, maybe because I create for Africans.
Right.
Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So I've never felt any pressure to perform. However, I have, again, because of the sort of validation that that would fancy me,
right,
does not necessarily have to come from outside the community. So I'm not seeking for validation outside the community, right? If it comes, fine. You get, so I don't think it makes me outperform or try to work twice as hard. However, I've met a lot of British creatives that are really good and I admire them. And what I learned from them is work ethics.
Yeah.
And I've had to reframe my mind, you know, on how to work on a global scale.
Yeah.
You know, because especially you have to value time, you have to value. And then one of the things that I really loved is also, you know, you can't put a price on creativity, but there's always that price limit. But where we're coming from, it's really not a thing to really, I mean, when you tell somebody I'm a photographer and I'll charge this amount, they're like, it's just to carry your cameras. But forgetting that you've gone to school for it, you've trained for it, you've had counters. So this country and working with a few British creatives have made me understand that people value their craft here more than back home, because we a lot of times see the creative industry as hobbies.
Yeah.
And that's why you have somebody say, a photographer is coming to cover my wedding. It's not just to take pictures.
Yeah.
Forgetting that a lot goes into it.
Exactly.
From even the editing, it's a whole lot of creative process. Yeah. So I think, I've not really felt any need to outperform, but if anything, I've absorbed everything I can learn.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said something that hit me, that it has helped you to have a global perspective to it. And that is very important because even back at home, I'll always say, look, you need to work locally, but think globally. Yeah, you need to do whatever you're doing, make sure that it has got a global standard. Yeah, so that it could be accepted in any part of the world. That is very key. So in your journey, were there times, or was there any time when you had thought, I'm throwing the towel, I'm giving all of this up, I'm tired, the pressure is too much for me now, I'm no longer going for...
No. Look, I thrive in chaos. So my wife will always say something. If I'm not working towards a project, I feel like my life is wasting away.
Yeah.
I'm a workaholic, right? I like to have something I'm working towards per time. If there's none, I'll create it. So I create the chaos in my life. You get? So I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I'm going, if anything.
So you're self-motivated.
Definitely.
There are people who derive their energy from within, internally.
Yeah.
There are people who need to get motivated from other sources.
Bro, I motivate my damn self.
Exactly.
Because, I don't know, because I think because I have a clear vision of where I want to go to or where I want to be. And because I'm not there yet, I don't think I would demotivate myself or wait for somebody else to motivate me. No? I don't listen to motivationals. I listen to biopics. I listen to personal stories, because when I watch biopics and watch dramas about people, I learn patterns. For me, when I watch a biopic, the things I learn how they adjusted to the different times that happened to them. Yeah, but I will not buy a Barack Obama book, but I'll watch about Barack Obama real life story, because that's where the true story lies, and not the book, because obviously books are for commercial reasons, really. So they would always twist things to sound commercial. But for me, I get motivated by things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that is not to say that the books are not also or equally important.
They are.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, actually.
Yeah, because, we're all different. There are people who derive that energy from reading. Some people derive from just watching or listening to someone's life story.
Yeah.
So what would you say to African creatives at the moment who feel pressured, who feel things are not working out for them, either back at home or here? Because there are people who've got businesses or who are just starting out and they don't know how to structure it, they don't know how to go about it. So they feel pressured, they feel unhappy about that. What would you say to such, if there's one listening to us right now?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people do not know who they're creating for. That's a very key part of creativity. A lot of people do not know who they're creating for, and that's why they want to create for everybody.
Exactly.
And then when everybody is not consuming your creativity, it becomes overwhelming and you feel like you're wasting time.
Right.
But the truth is, you can't create for everybody.
Right.
Again, so another thing is a lot of people are also not doing research. We have this bandwagon mentality where if everyone is doing a podcast, everyone wants to do a podcast. Forgetting that you have to at least be a good communicator to hold good conversations for your podcast to thrive. But people are just going on podcasts and just having a chat and things like that. And then if nobody's watching, you're wondering why. Because for me now, if I go watch a podcast, the very first 5 minutes, I have a great attention span, mind you, compared to a lot of people of today. I can watch a 50-minute podcast, even if it's crap, just because I feel like there's a message somewhere, So I have that time, but I've had to deal with a lot of crap, well-filmed crap, on air, you get. And that's because I didn't think that the hosts were good orators. Now, obviously, when I mean orators, it's not about your diction, it's not about elocution. It's about how good a communicator you are. Yeah. Some of them are speaking over their guests. Some of them are not literally speaking to themselves, and the guests are just a prop. So I've seen loads. That's why I know that a lot of creators of today, the reason why they are probably discouraged or not motivated is because a lot of them do not know what they're creating for, and they're trying to create for everybody. And when you try to create for everybody, look, as big as Coca-Cola is, not everybody likes it.
Exactly.
You get? So you have to know who your audiences are.
Yeah, so you've got 4 core values: creativity, culture, collaboration, and community. Which of these 2 have been the most difficult to live out?
To live out?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting. I've never thought of that, I would say the community part. I would say the community part, yeah. Because, again, we don't exist in silos, right, as creators. You have to exist in communities. And so that for me, everything that I do, if it doesn't directly serve a community, then I think it's not worth doing. Because at the end of the day, because we live in a different country from ours, because we're now here, right? It's important that we move together,
Right.
Right, we move together because we wouldn't. How I'm going to influence a fellow African would be very different from how a British person would influence, different from how an American, because we have different lived experiences. So even with the jokes, I am now enjoying Geordie jokes. I didn't because I didn't know, but because I've lived here, because I've lived here now. I know when you say a joke, I know the backstory around it. Yeah, so it's just the community part that it's definitely hardest to.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because when you talked about the jokes now, you see back at home when you watch some of the comedy shows, you see some expatriates or guys, they're just sitting there, they don't understand the joke, and everybody around them is laughing.
Yeah,
and they're not getting it at all.
Context.
Sometimes, exactly.
Context.
Yeah. So you have to put yourself in that.
I'll say something quickly before we go on. So I have a colleague who said something, and I know that when I would say it to somebody from Nigeria, you won't get it. So she said, so it was a situation where she was trying to prove herself, right? And she said, I'm going to show my backside on Phoenix window, if you're right. Now, it wouldn't make sense because you don't understand what Phoenix window is, but I do. You understand? So it's for you to show your backside of Phoenix, that's the height of disgrace.
Yeah.
So things like that, if you don't understand the context of the joke or the story, you wouldn't really get into it. Yeah.
So let's go into AfriBall now. Yeah, that's the big one. So you founded AfriBall as a community where people could celebrate African culture, African heritage, and all of that. What gap did you see or problem did you spot that led to that?
Representation.
Okay.
Yeah, representation. So I have been to a lot of events where there hasn't been much representation. And now, why do I say that? If you look at the population of non-British people, right, in the country, you'd find that it's enough number for some level of representation to happen. Because these are people that are taxpayers, these are people that work in health, these are people that are, they now have children, grandchildren here. So they're an essential part of the global community, right? So what the representation in most of the events have been at wasn't there. And again, just like what we're talking about context, right? There is what success. So, I like to be on both sides. As a if I was a British person, right, I wouldn't be able to know how to reward or award or recognize a particular African creator because of context. So you might be doing great, but they won't understand it. And to be fair to a lot of these organizers, some people are just blatant about things like this, but some people also do not know how.
Right.
So I met a lady sometime and she was like, we're talking about AfriBall when it was still in development. And then she said, well, she didn't know that Africans loved things like that. She thought Africans were all just parties. No. And she was like, African creators, yeah. I'm like, yes. So, but she wasn't being cheeky.
Yeah.
She was being, it's ignorance, but not intentional. Yeah. She didn't know. Exactly. I had to educate that ignorance and just say, no, we have. So I showed her a couple of people's pages. I'm like, well, okay. So yeah, it was representation. And then the fact that a lot of people now live here. A lot of people are creating great work. Africans. What platforms would they feel like it is their own?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, what platform would they feel like they understand me, they see me, they know me. You understand? So that was the gap that I saw, non-existent, and we had to create it.
Right. So, and you had the first ever award night on the 30th of May?
Yeah, 30th of May at the assembly rooms.
It was a phenomenal success, I would say. I wasn't there, but I mean, it was a phenomenal success.
Yeah, it's
that goes on to show or to tell the level of hard work that went into that.
Boy, that project drained me.
So tell me, fine, it just came to my mind now.
Yeah.
So tell me about the back end of that award night, the challenges you went through. You told me a bit about the Instagram thing and all of that.
So, first things first, I have had to create events from scratch. Some of them are in the 10th edition, but creating AfriBall here was really hard. Because, I've at so many points in the creative process, some people have asked me to take it to London, like Newcastle. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it here. Like, no, blah, 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 they're not accepting, blah, 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 different things. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it here. And everybody's going to travel from wherever and come to Newcastle and attend AfriBall. So a lot of the back ends would be support. Now, if you've been in the event space long enough, in this country and everywhere else, you find out that the first edition of your show, right, is your proof of concept. That's what people want to see. So a lot of people will take you serious if you've done one without much of external support. And for me, it was more important for us to start than to wait.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, no, apply for grants, go for funding, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be the first investor in my dream. So I took a large chunk of my savings to create the basic things, and then, of course, built it to a point where we started attracting sponsorship, some of which came from Caviar Studios, thanks to Tito. We got like some of those people around to, rally around us to, just support. But the back end was then, of course, selling the product, because it's a product.
Yeah.
Selling the product in a way that it does not diminish the prestige. Because, again, I have had to work in marketing and communications, right? So I know how to sell a product to different audience. Now, I didn't want to sell this like a party. I didn't want to sell it like just another event. So it was important to sell it in a way that people felt dignified to be part of it. So that was one of the challenges, because people were wondering why the tickets were what they were, and, it's too expensive and things like that. I'm like, at the end of the day, if you want to buy something quality, you have to spend some money.
Cheap is expensive.
And then people came to me and were like, no, you know what? I think you should adjust the price. You know how people are like, no. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep it here, and everyone is going to rise up to that occasion. And if anybody feels it's not for them, then it's not for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it. Again, back to, you're not creating for everybody.
Exactly.
Because for me, I was creating something that would attract creative professionals.
Right, yeah.
Not people who are doing hobbies, not people who are just dancing on TikTok. You understand? But people whose creativity have started earning money for them. Yeah. So those are the people who we're targeting. Yeah. And of course, the fact that we had the MP there, we had to bring Smaid from all the way from London.
The member of Parliament.
Yeah, the MP, Chiomora, the member of Parliament for Newcastle Central and North. We had to bring Dr. King Smaid, creator of Afro Nation, the world's biggest Afrobeats festival, holds annually in Portugal. We had to bring Rex Teinye, who is the creator of African Achievers Awards. His event brings former African presidents together, African kings. It was important for me to bring those people to a place where they saw a level of excellence in Newcastle. Again, so one of the things I also told the council in Newcastle is Newcastle is fast becoming, it's no longer just that football city.
Yeah.
Or that, because, again, moving to Legon, to the UK, having lived in Lagos, it's only natural that I would move to London.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a transition, because you're in the commercial creative capital of Nigeria, or Africa, as a matter of fact, and you're coming to the UK, you should be in London. But I'm like, no, I found here as home. I love the people. I really do. I love the people, because it's expensive to smile in London. it's very, I think it's like £50 to smile in London. Because nobody smiles.
Yeah.
But you see people are nice to you here, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to deal with all of that. I'll be and be with humans, and not be with robots. I'm sorry if you're in London and you're watching. But that's the truth. I love people from Newcastle. I love everybody. I love the people in the Northeast. There's this calm. People are not as agitated. People are a lot calm. So I said, you know what? I told the council, I said, what I'm creating is a destination event where people would annually travel to Newcastle to experience the beauty that she is. And thankfully, we were able to do that with the first edition of AfriBall. We had loads of people coming from Cardiff, from London, from Manchester, Birmingham, Scotland, Wales. I'm like, whoa, and then a lot of them were coming to Newcastle for the first time. And somebody was like, so we went to the club after the event, and someone was like, they have clubs in Newcastle. I'm like, excuse me, what do you think this place is? But is that notion, they feel like it's in the top part of the north, they're just a bunch of village quiet old people. I'm like, no, there's life here. So away from St. James, which is obviously like where a lot of people see as that football city, the St. James and that's all. Newcastle is fast becoming a cultural hub of the north. So it's important that she begins to establish herself. The Mobiles was here 2 years ago, I think. So it's important that she begins to pride herself as welcoming of things like that. And I think Newcastle is really now getting very, very inclusive and multicultural in terms of allowing creativity from all corners to thrive.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's good that the first edition was a massive success. We could say that by every standard, honestly, by every standard. And kudos to you and to the team. So with AfriBall, are you trying to create an event, or a movement, or a cultural institution?
It is a cultural institution. That is what it is. So it's all of everything you've said. It's a movement. It's an event. But it is largely a cultural institution because it's something that, so the way I've created it, I would say I'm the visionary, but we have a lot of people on the team. And it's something that I want to outlive me. So if anything happens to me, that shouldn't be the end of AfriBall. AfriBall should be that place that, so it's invariably called the African Met Gala. So we want that level of high fashion, African extravagance in couture and outfits and things like that, where people would come and see the beauty of African designers, African art, things like that. It's that institution that would forever remain.
So besides AfriBall, you've convened the Creators Mix.
Yes.
We've got media guys, art, fashion, photography, all sort of things. Why do you think African creators need an intentional space where they could connect and collaborate?
So, I'll give you an example which I've always given to people. Some 3 years ago, a couple from America, because my wife is a makeup artist, right? A couple from America were coming to the Northeast. I think Durham. They wanted this. The theme for their wedding was this old Elizabethan kind of scenario, right? Where they couldn't find the kind of place in America, so they wanted to wed somewhere in the Northeast. I think it was around the Durham Cathedral. So they were intentional about wanting a black makeup artist, because black makeup artists understand black skin, because they are black Americans. They also want, so when they contacted from Instagram, they contacted my wife. They were asking my wife for a photographer, for chef, for things, and my wife did not know anybody. She had to go online. I'm like, you know what? That's the problem. I'm gonna solve
that problem.
So it was important for us to create Creators Mix, where people, a lot of business. So last Creators Mix, a lot of people's project started off from there, because we had a point where people were pitching, what in your creative journey, who do you need right now? And then you see people go, oh, I'm a makeup artist, I need a model and a photographer, and then you're literally seeing them there. So it became like a marketplace of creativity where people. So it's very important for us to know ourselves. Just so if you have a job, look, there are some, a British person, a British photographer might not be able to shoot a Nigerian wedding. That is because, it's not because they don't have the craft or the skills or the know-how. It's because they don't understand the moments that matter.
Exactly. Context, like we talked about
earlier. The moments that matter. So you might see maybe the bride kneeling down towards the mom, and you might just shoot something else, but that's a moment.
Exactly.
That's something we cherish. You get, so it's important we know ourselves so that when we start doing things that we really want to show certain things, it's important you know who to call in terms of collaboration. Yeah, so that was the reason why we created Just Mix.
Yeah, you've also set up African pop-up.
Yeah. So So Pop-up Africa was meant to. Pop-up Africa was meant to happen with AfriBall. But we were going to bring it next edition. Okay. Because at the point it became important for us to market one thing.
Exactly.
And market it well.
Yeah.
But it was meant to be a build-up. We had a series of events. We also had we were supposed to have Tales by Moonlight.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a children's storytelling African event. But we killed those and just wanted to do the ball itself, so that when next we bring those leading up to the ball as the finale, it would make more sense to people. But we just wanted to market one product well, just so they understood.
Yeah. So what's the Pop-up Africa all about?
So Pop-up Africa is a music, food, fashion, art pop-up. Right. So literally it's a pop-up. So it could happen. Say Grace Monument, we might just have a pop-up there where 1 hour and things are happening. There's music, there's a pop-up runway, people you just be walking and you just see models start walking, just something like that. That was where so it's meant to pop up at different points, where things just start.
So it's also bringing creators together to do crazy things. Do their own thing.
Exactly. So we're not. So what Pop-up Africa is not to wait for that event day where people plan for. You're just literally walking on the street and Pop-up Africa might just happen there. And for the first time, we're bringing it to the streets. We're bringing it to wherever you are. By just say shopping on, if you're familiar with Newcastle, on Northumberland Street, and then you just hear music play somewhere, and then you see models walking. And they're like, okay, and then people stand and like, wow, okay, that's good. So that's what it is.
And fair play, a lot of British people love African prints, African fashion, African designs. Because I've seen people say, oh, I love your prints, I love your design, I love your, especially the Ankara.
Yeah. Something like this.
Exactly. So what do you think we are at risk of losing if young Africans, particularly those in the diaspora, are disconnected from, say, memory, language, community, culture? What are the risks?
I think it's identity. All of these things you've just said sums up in identity.
African identity.
Language. I think the English people are the luckiest people in the world. They don't get to speak two languages. We get to speak English and our local dialect, right? But they get to speak one language and that's it for them, But for a lot of other nationalities, you have obviously Chinese who speaks English because they're here. They speak Chinese when they go back to China.
Or even speak it here.
Or speak it here within their community. So the identity, I would say, that young Africans are at the risk of losing is that just identity. So that wraps in culture, knowing where you're from, knowing your ancestry, wraps in language, being able to communicate away from traditional English language, food, if you will, everything that has to do with where you're from. Because again, even though they might be born here, they might be British by passport, but they're not British by heritage. You understand? So it's important that they know that. Where they're from. So they don't, and I'm going to say something that if this comes out, well, they might drag me on social media and I don't care, but I'm going to say it. This is the reason why the African Americans, a lot of them are largely not in touch. And that's why you have Yeah, and
Africa back at home.
Yeah, and their heritage. And that's why you have all these stupid, silly debates online about African American and Black American. You know, there's that big conversation. I've had to educate a lot of people online. I feel like a lot of African Americans who call themselves Black Americans are not educated, because how can you be Black and call yourself American? You might be American, but at some point I might be British Nigerian. You know, but that does not take out your other parts. I know that they have a different history because theirs is over 400 plus years of slavery and all of that. So a lot of them would not remember, because most of these things have not been passed down to them.
Oh, sorry to cut you. Some of them are now coming back home to Africa to say,
the wise ones.
I need to know where I'm from.
The wise ones. They've been doing this genealogy thing, tracing their heritage. But a lot of not so smart ones, they just go and say, no, we're from here. You are not from here, you're Black.
Simple
you know, you're not from there.
Straight up.
You know, but yeah, so again, it is because a lot of identity haven't been preserved, and that's why you see them. Because imagine, I love the Blacks there's Black British people, but trust me, every Black British person in this country, second, third, fourth generation, they know where they're from. Exactly. You understand? And that's because the Africans that came to the UK kind of kept heritage going. I'm impressed with that. But in America, a lot of Black people do not even know where they're from. And you can't blame them because it's been that many years, right? But it's important. Again, the wise ones are now coming home, trying to trace their ancestry, doing all of the genealogy thing, you know. But yeah, if we don't preserve things like that, we risk our children that are born here to be like the ones in America.
Then years later, there's going to be that argument, senseless argument
very,
honestly.
Very uneducated.
Bob Marley said, if you are Black, you are African.
Yeah.
Simple and short. So let's leave it there.
Yeah. Because it's a very I've fought so many people about this.
You've talked about amplifying African voices.
Yeah.
And you see, for me, I believe that, in fact, like the title of the podcast, African Possibility Podcast, the African possibility doesn't outrule the fact that, or doesn't take away the fact that we've got a lot of issues peculiar to Africa. We've got bad leadership, we've got corruption, we've got all of these, which you have in every part of the world. We've amplified ours. But Africa, this is what I believe, African possibility, and Africa is also creativity, it's resilience, it's spirituality, it's memory, it's language, it's power, you know. So talking about amplifying African voices, how best do you think that Africans could amplify their voice in spaces where sometimes are not welcoming or accepted?
So I think that a lot of Africans who are very educated try to strip themselves of the education just because they want to fit in.
Yeah.
The average African millennial in this country, I've told a lot of people this. The average African millennial in this country who's moved with at least a degree, at least. Some people are PhD holders, some are master's holders, you know. So, but I found that a lot of people do not talk about that excellence because maybe they happen to find themselves in lesser paying jobs. Yeah. You know, just because, I mean, when you move to a new country, you have to survive.
Right.
And you have to do anything to survive. You know, so I think that's one. We need to start showing up in the fullness of our level in terms of education, because the truth is, I was telling a colleague, University of Lagos was one time the best uni at some point, right? And people who are alumni, I mean, you have like the Wale Soyinkas and the rest who studied abroad but also studied locally. You know, they've really amplified Africa via their work. We're talking about their work and the things that they've done. So I think we need to start taking up space. And when I mean taking up space, not taking up space physically, but mentally, you can go to, I've been in rooms where I happen to be the only black. Again, that's one of the reasons why we created Creators Mix. I go to a lot of creative events. I've been in rooms where I'm the only black person. And sometimes if there are two black persons, the other black person is my wife. Yes. So, yeah, but I've been in those spaces. And when I go to spaces like that, I feel like I am the ambassador. So when you have a conversation with me in those kind of places, you understand where I'm at mentally. You know how good, how genius I am. The things that I do them well. You know, there's something I said during AfriBall when I made a speech, my now famous speech. I said to our allies, because we had some British people there, I said to our allies, I would like you to take away everything you've read in the media and see the Africa in front of you. It was important for me to say that because we know how Western media have obviously done propaganda over the things that we've done, changed narratives. And when people think of Africa, people think of a bunch of starving children, and there's starving children everywhere. One of the culture shock when I came to the country was seeing people homeless on the floor, but you don't see them in the media.
Exactly.
They don't talk about it. Talk about the good things.
Yeah, across the world.
You know, but again, with Africa, we always show beggars and people on the street. But yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You understand? We show bad government. There's bad government everywhere. You know. So when we start showing the brilliance of Africa, we change the narrative. And that's one of the fundamentals of AfriBall, for you to see the excellence in the creativity that we're bringing to the table and what we're committing. Because at the end of the day, everybody who earns, every black person, every black creator who earns money from the UK, from TikTok, pays their tax.
Right.
So we're contributing.
Yeah. By every standard, yeah.
Every standard, yeah.
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 And I say that with confidence, with some pride, that Africans across the world, Africans in diaspora, are contributing massively to the GDP of whatever countries that they are. The narrative will always want to, or the media will always want to. I
don't know which African I know that takes benefits.
Oh yeah.
I was telling a colleague just yesterday. We're talking. She was very concerned about where this country is going to in terms of allowing everybody to come in, and I'm like, look. She explained to me, I'm not going to call the nationality, but a particular nationality. There was a documentary where they come to this country, they take benefits, and they send back home, and then their wives back home are lounging. You know, they buy Nintendos for their children and things like that. And I'm like, did you see any African in that video? She said, no. I said, because every African is fundamentally imbibed mentally to work. We don't believe in hand-me-downs. We don't wait for handouts. It's an African who's here, who cannot work, will go back home.
Yeah, simple.
We don't have care system in Nigeria where everyone. I was telling my colleague as well. Everyone takes care of their old parents. We don't have care homes as it is. I mean, it's a new thing now where you're now seeing home of the age, but it's not a thing. It's not an industry where you have care, where you put people. Everybody takes care of themselves. You know, because most of the people who are aged, they've worked, they're retired, they have salaries, they get paid pensions. You know, so when you find Africans coming to this country, especially Africans who have moved, a lot of us have to move, spending over 20K in education, in the process to move to this country. When I broke it down to my colleagues, she was like, well, I'm like, yeah. So when people talk about boats, you know, no, that's not us.
Yeah.
That is not us. We don't come. We came with a freaking airplane. We had to get visa.
VA, man.
We had to pay. I have a colleague who was a former regional bank manager, you know, and, you know, we worked at some place before, and then he was that. This is someone that is commanding hundreds of thousands, you know, but he's moved, you get. And because, of course, back home, we don't have like the best of government and security and all of that. Not because everything here is shiny, not because we need to survive to be here. But a lot of us are just looking at the future of our children and said, you know what, we're going to give them a different experience.
Right.
Yeah, so it's always whenever I find the time to, I know we've like veered off a bit, but whenever I find the time to, I like to put that in, because this is a podcast in the UK.
Yeah, it's important that what we're saying now is very important, honestly, because a lot of British people, and fair play to them, don't understand that just like you said, when you tell some people that it costs 20K, 15 grand to come here, they like, wow.
My wife's school fee was 17,500.
Exactly, yeah.
And we paid it before coming here.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
So these are the realities that, and it's we all didn't come by boat.
And we don't do loans, student loans.
Exactly.
In Nigeria, when you have an iPhone 17, you bought it with your money.
Exactly.
There's no. We don't have the culture of paying instrumentally.
Yeah.
Anybody who owns a G-Wagon has bought it outright.
Outright, yeah.
If anybody who owns a big house has bought it outright, because that's the culture.
Yeah. So, and it's important we let this out, because this is amplifying our voices.
Yeah.
We are telling our stories, and over the years, our stories have been told. The African narrative has been crisis and negative narratives. And if we don't tell the stories, we risk them being told inaccurately,
a different way,
and in a very negative way. So we must tell our stories. And I say to every creator out there, do your thing. Do you. I mean, whatever you're doing and you know that it's got some global appeal, put it out there. Use the social media. It was Naval Ravikant who talked about the democratization of technology. And so today we could do what we are doing and the world will see us. And that is the point. Every African who's got something inside of him or her must let it out. Let it out. And amplify your voice and amplify Africa. We've got our challenges, but that does not make Africa what it is. True. Africa is way more than all of that. So in the creative space, we've got a lot of talent, African talent in the creative space. But we've also got challenges. Poor visibility, poor collaborations, visibility issues, pressures, and all of that. What do you think is the major barrier that creatives are facing, and what do you think is the way out?
Crab mentality. So, again, back to my now famous popular speech at AfriBall. I said we need to move past talking about who did it first and start talking about who's doing it next. So it's crab mentality. And to be fair, because we're a minority in this country, it is big deal for an African to be the first African to do something. You understand? So that in itself is a challenge, because when you do that, it breeds competition. And where there's competition, there's no collaboration. So everybody wants to win and be the person that's done this. But the minute we start seeing ourselves not as competitors, but as people who could collaborate to create a movement, and that's why I love the Jewish people. They always move together. They're always a force. The Chinese are like that. You hardly see the first Chinese woman to do something. No, they don't go. Those things don't excite them. It was done by Chinese.
Exactly.
Simple. But not a woman being the first Chinese woman. And again, I said something, there's never a first white person to do anything. You don't see the first white woman to drive a car. No, but we have that. The first, the formula around some Kuti, the first Nigerian woman to drive a car. And I'm like, okay, So, but we need to move past that. Again, why we have that crab mentality is because we now want to win, but we don't understand how to win as a people. We want to win as persons. Everybody wants to make Forbes list. Everybody wants to make times 100. Be the first African, the only African in times 100. That's not the goal. Oprah Winfrey would always talk about things like that. That she hasn't always been that first. She doesn't want to be that first black woman on daytime TV. But she feels like the satisfaction is when she looks back, she sees a long line of other African women who've taken space. So I think that is one of the problems we have. And then of course the solution to it is collaboration.
So I was going to just ask you 2 questions, but I think you've answered one.
Okay.
When you look at African creatives in the UK, what excites you most? I was also going to ask you what depresses you most.
I'll start what excites me most. What excites me most is the fact that people are now creating from a place of authenticity. Now, I'm always going to sound like this. I'm not going to sound different. I'm not going to sound like a British. I'm not British. I'm not going to sound like them. We are heavy-tongued people.
Right.
a Chinese is speaking English, you would know.
Exactly.
So, but one of the things that but they don't do it anymore, and that's why it excites me. Before now, you find a lot of people who were not born here. I mean, if you're born here, to be fair, you'd pick up the accent, wouldn't you? But a lot of people who moved found the need to start sounding different, because they feel like it makes them fair. If you work in journalism, if you're on telly, because there's standard, there's media English, right? But now I see people creating from a place of authenticity, how they dress, how they speak. They've not diluted any part of it to fit into any narrative or any viewing pleasure of whoever. They're speaking in a way that if an African listens to them, this is an African. It's just like how in Hollywood you have the one African accent that we're still fighting, because when Hollywood wants to tell African stories, then they get somebody that they coach. You can't coach somebody on a Nigerian accent. If you're not Nigerian, you're not Nigerian. Exactly. You guys. So, but I like that we're now being authentic with how we create. So that's what excites me. With African creators in the UK.
Yeah. So what depresses you? You've talked about it anyway.
Except
if you want to add
no,
to
no,
that.
No. Yeah, it's just obviously the competition is sickening.
Exactly. Yeah. You've talked about that. So building any kind of platform across the world that's got some global taste or perspective, like AfriBall, Creators Mix, will come with some sacrifices. So what are those? What has it cost you personally? What has it cost you to, I can only imagine.
First, it cost me friendship.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So in creating that project, right, I've had to do away with certain friends because what people cannot achieve, some people are insecure about you achieving something that they haven't been able to.
Yeah.
So I saw a bit of that with some people who I know, who I thought were my friends. I mean, there's somebody who blatantly told me this project won't work. This is a white elephant project.
Sorry to cut you. Do you know when I hear those kind of things?
Yeah.
That gives me.
Oh yeah.
That gives me the drive.
I love to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
I live to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've had people say that it didn't break me. It never will, because I think I've gone past that point in life where, because again, I'm not what's the word I'm looking for? I don't jump on projects. I take my time, I research, I make sure this is what I want to do. So you can't tell me, haven't spent time to research and do the things I want to do, and tell me it wouldn't work. No, that's just your opinion, isn't it? Yeah. So it's cost me. I've had friends who I'm no longer friends with, and then it's also, I would say, time. After AfriBall, I felt like my 2026 started because we had different phases. We had nomination, we had voting, we had event marketing proper, we had post-publicity and post-event activities. Now I'm living for myself. But before, when the year started, it was, what are we doing next? There's always a phase on that project. So it did cost me that time. Again, because I know it's the first edition, it will take all of that, but the next edition wouldn't really take as much. And then, of course, personal monies. Oh my God! It took monies. Yeah, it took everything from me. I gave it my all. It was like a baby. I gave it my all, and I said, you know what, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen the way I want it to happen. Because when I came, so there was a point where during the show, I went for an outfit change, and I came back. So at that time, I came from the back, and I looked at everything, and it matched what I always imagined. And I'm like, yes.
So you saw what you had seen?
Yes, I saw what I had seen, because every time and that's why I knew what I wanted to the last beat on stage. I knew how I wanted the stage to look like. I knew the elements I wanted on it because I'd seen it. And so when I came back to the hall just before my speech, I looked at the hall. I'm like, yeah, this is it. Well-dressed people, nice ambience, good sound, good food, important people, it was...
That's the AfriBall brand.
Yeah, that's the brand. That's the brand. So I saw it, I'm like, this is it. Yeah.
So honestly, for me, it's AfriBall with what I saw It's not a product. It's a brand.
It is.
And by every standard, you've set up a structure that can only grow. Just keep
That's
growing.
the whole idea.
Just keep growing. So when you think about African possibility as a diasporan also, and as a creator who is in the cultural space trying to amplify Africa and African culture and African heritage, what do you think African possibility is for you?
Endless. The possibility is endless. Or I'll just say, stop knocking, stop asking, start creating. So the possibility is, if it's not existent, create it. That's what the possibility. So that's why I say it's endless. We need to stop complaining and say, I'm not. Look, you know one funny thing about me. I don't see racism. I don't see color. I've explained certain things that have happened to me, and people say that's you being targeted. Well, I don't see it that way, and I've chosen not to see it that way, because if you see color, then you're blind, because no African is as black as your trouser, and no white person is as white as your shirt. And then there's something Robert Mugabe said, which is very is rude and very crude, but he said, you can't tell me about color, but if you want to tell me about color, as long as I use a white toilet roll to clean my black backside, then that's color, But again, it's not something I vibe with, but I don't get that. I don't. If I see you exhibit that, I just feel like you're limited.
So
in mind,
talking about what Robert Mugabe said would be just the shitty side of racism.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's needless.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me, I also don't see it, because I walked into the room with every sense of confidence.
No, I don't. I don't. And again, it's not because I'm ignorant of it, but it doesn't get to me. And as a matter of fact, the only thing I feel for you is pity.
Yeah.
Because if you know what the world is saying, if you know, except you don't want to travel, except you're going to be mediocre. Because imagine if you're a British filmmaker and you see color, you don't have the hopes of going to Hollywood, where there's a balance of color. You're not going to go to Bollywood. You're not going to go to China to create. Meaning you're not thinking globally. You're thinking here. You get, but when you know that at some point you have to deal with all kinds of race, I want to have projects where I bring Chinese on. In short, there's a story I'm working on currently that some of the characters are from different race represented. You get, so if I've always been, because again, racism can come on both sides. You have black people who are racist. I know some people will tell me, I would never be in a white people's event. I don't go to a white people's church. I'm like, okay, well, good luck to you. But if you think like that and you want to grow big globally, you have to deal with some of these things. You get, so I've never really seen color. And when people see color,
I was going to ask you that question about if you've had an experience of racism here.
Well, it's probably, bro, again, because I don't see it the way, it's hard to say. Again, but I've told people about things and they said, they call it what it is. But again, I see it as ignorance. So I wouldn't say I've had an attack per se. I've walked through, so where I go to work, I'll have to walk through a narrow path from the train station to get to the office. And there are a bunch of young 13-year-olds who vape, just hang around there, they don't go to school. And then they say some words to me. But am I going to take words from people on the street? Really? You understand? So it doesn't get to me. And then if as an educated white person or Chinese person, whatever race you are, and you're thinking you're attacking me, I wouldn't take you seriously, because again, I would have to look at so many things. I would look at you and what qualifies you to do that. So I've not really, I wouldn't say I've had an attack. I've had things that would look like an attack, but to me it wasn't an attack. It was just obviously people being silly.
I think the response should be more of maturity, should be more of maybe just like you said, Not ignoring them, but see it like ignorance in their own part. Because
Exactly.
if you know what the world is today, you won't be racist. Because I know there are black people who don't like white people. There are
I
white
know
people
that.
who don't like black people.
And when I'm in that space and I talk, they feel like you know what they call in America, what they call coconut, a black person with a white soul. You get so they feel like you're talking white. I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense on both sides really. So I'm going to call it BS on both sides. So yeah,
It's the reality. Reality
Yeah.
is that it's there. So we're not denying the fact that it's
Yeah.
not there. It's there, but we need to move past it. And for everyone who's had to
however,
encounter-
what I would say is the institutional racism.
Exactly.
Not necessarily the one that happens among common. It's the institutional ones where, of course, there are some doors that you can't break into because of obviously the color of your skin. I know that exists definitely, but yeah, again, that's why you have to create your own, and that's why we are not waiting for
Exactly.
an African filmmaker in this country does not necessarily need to wait for the BAFTAs. You have AfriBall, you have the mobiles, you have things like that that would
Yeah, so if we have Africans, African creatives come together and collaborate, what do you think will come out with?
magic. Example, AfriBall, magic. The power in that room. I mean, on LinkedIn, I saw like most people attended talking about their own experience, and it was interesting to read. Some of them said, "This is the first time I'm being in a room filled with names. Only people I've seen on social media. People who have only there's not been the opportunity for us to meet. You know, so it would be magic. It would be magic because look, the level of creativity I see in African creatives, and whether anybody likes it or not, the world is moving towards. The world is vibing to Afrobeat.
Yeah.
It is now popular culture for people to dress African. It is a thing, you know, but it's not a commodity. It's an identity, right? There's always that thing now. I mean, if you check fashion, African fashion is taking the world by storm. If you look at the New York Fashion Weeks, the Paris Fashion Weeks, the London Fashion Weeks, you'll see elements of things that have been taken, you know, inspired by. You get so whether the world likes it or not, that's where the future is, especially with pop culture. That's what it is, because from music to art to fashion, that's where the world is looking at. Because the world at some point looked towards China.
Yeah.
And now that's how world power moves. It moves from Great Britain to America to China, and it's moving to Africa. And each of these era, Great Britain was obviously the genius in engineering, underground railroads, the first in the world. America moved it with industrialization. China moved it with tech. But now the world is talking about culture, and it's coming to Africa.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. So, as we round up, talking about legacy. So when the story of Teinye Boyle is told, and say in the next 100 years, so by then we'll all be gone.
Yeah, well, true, because would I live 130? No. I don't even want to be here that long.
I was saying to one of my guests, I said in the next 100, at best 120 years, we all will be gone. Now, if we are not, we probably will not be able to make any impact at that age. So at 120, you're still there. What impact can you make? So when the story of Teinye Boyle is told, what do you want to be remembered for?
That black boy that dreamt, and he didn't just dream. He made dreams possible.
Yeah. So our signature question usually would be, when you think about the future of Africa, what is that one possibility that gives you the most hope?
Heritage. Heritage, because that's where storytelling meets innovation. Heritage, and the fact that it's something that has the possibility of being passed down undiluted.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll say heritage.
Great.
Yeah.
And how can we push that?
In everything we do, in your writing, in your songs, in the clothes you make, in the teachings you do, in your everyday conversation. That's how cultural storytelling is, really. So in everything you do, you have to make it a conscious effort. For me, if you hang out with me, if you're non-African, if you hang out with me, anything around 10 minutes, there's something you'll learn. So it's a personal mantra for me to always educate anywhere I go. And I think if we all do that, a lot of people would now know better.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much, Teinye.
Thank you so much.
Now, just about the last question. Oh, I've got two more.
Okay.
The very last question will be the question by the previous guest. Sure, you do not know who the guest is.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you the question.
Yeah.
Put it down in the African Possibility Journal.
Right.
But before then, whose story do you want to hear? Who do you want to see seated on that seat and hear his or her story?
Do you want to fly Tyler Perry in? Because that's my mentor.
Nothing is impossible.
No, not African Possibility. Exactly. So nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible.
I would say I'm interested to hear about Bisi Akins.
Okay.
She was a culture shaper at AfriBall, and she has formed this educational platform called All Things Africa. But she was born and raised here, so it's an interesting. I've had to ask her a couple of times. We need to have a conversation. I'd like to know where being born here as an African, how it felt. Because I don't know it. I wasn't born here.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation. I think Bisi Akins would be your great next guest.
We'll see to that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. So the very last question: what should you be doing more of and less of?
Me.
Yes.
What should I be doing more of? Maybe take my health seriously. Fitness. Yeah, because I've been to the gym and I stopped at some point. Yeah, so I think I want to take the more of. Less of is wow. What do I need to do less of? It's hard. I don't know why it's hard because I don't really know what I want to do less of, honestly, but I'll find something.
Yeah, when you are disciplined and highly self-motivated and highly self-inspired, you pretty much may not be able to answer that question.
Yeah, because everything I need to do less of, I'm doing less of.
Exactly.
So, But I think
it's a question for you to ponder about.
Yeah, less of maybe eating junk. I don't eat junk a lot, but maybe that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.